yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Beat in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. No pain for their disease. Just like a weed. 80 degrees. 80 degrees. They say it's supposed to be today on October 28th, 2023. And my God, it seems as though summer just does not want to end. And to be quite honest with you, I am not really complaining. I am not complaining because, truth be told, I do not like the fall. I do not like the fall. I do not like the winter. It's just not for me. Outside of Christmas and New Year's, I don't understand why winter and fall even exists. But regardless of that, that still does not change the fact that it is indeed Saturday, and you know what that means. We're live, and ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the greatest show on earth, as we are streaming live across 4 different platforms and 8 different accounts as the people are beginning to file on in to the eye of the storm. As of course, many of you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle. No. You gotta conjure it up like a witch. Woo. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on. Just breathe that in. Just breathe. Oh my God, that is succulent. That is delicious. Do you know what that is? Hold on. Oh. You know what that is right there? That is the smell of pure, unadulterated excellence. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh yeah, to mankind. And this is the official lightning flash update for Saturday, October 28th, 2023. Plenty, and I mean plenty of good material to dissect here today as we are live a little bit earlier than usual. And the reason being is because I'm going to have to be on the road sooner rather than later because I'm going to be meeting with Mr. Jay Aletto for some steaks. We're going to be talking PWP Nation business, talking about what we could do as far as growing the brand. We're going to have fun. We're going to eat, we're going to drink, and we are going to talk about ways to expand the PWP Nation brand, get the fans a little bit more involved. It's going to be a good day. It is going to be a good day, to say the least. But thank you all for stopping on by. Thank you very much to Maria. Thank you very much to Sarah Hapka and the Final Hoss. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much to who else is in here? Is that James Punaseka? I think James Punaseka is in here as well. Just in time. Thank you very much for stopping on by. Plenty of good material to talk about here today on the LFU, including TNA Wrestling. Yes, the TNA brand is officially being revived. They are no longer called Impact pro wrestling there called TNA. I will go over why it means absolutely nothing. WWE reports and rumors regarding new championship titles being made 1,000% false. There will be no new championships being made. On top of that, the creative team has not decided on a women's War Games match. They have decided on a men's War Games match, which will not be brand versus brand warfare, which I'm very, very happy about. WWE is interested in Will Ospreay, and CM Punk declined an offer from Impact Wrestling to appear live and in the flesh on their Bound for Glory pay-per-view last Saturday evening. We're going to talk about that and so much more. We're going to go over this week in wrestling. Really not too much hot material going on in the world of wrestling. AEW side of the fence actually had a very good week, but WWE side of the fence, I'm not sure what happened, but this week was an off week, especially for WWE TV. Triple H, I'm not sure what he was doing this week, but clearly he did not put 1,000% of the effort that he put into the last few weeks of shows, because the last month and a half worth of WWE TV has actually been very good. I fully expect Crown Jewel to be great. I mean, I'm taking a look at the card, and the card looks great. But this last week of WWE TV, it just didn't do it. It didn't do it. Dare I say, NXT was actually the best WWE show of the week. Please let me know if my microphone is working okay. I know that the Wi-Fi has been a little bit wonky, so hopefully that should sort itself out as we go further and further into the stream. But once again, thank you all for stopping on by. Plenty of material to talk about and dissect, and we are not going to waste any time. We just need to get through a few self-brand promotion and advertisements. Please make sure, if you have not already done so, please make sure that you follow me on social media, whether it be on X or Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. Once again, at HistoryMakerDJS, both on X and Instagram. You can also add me on my personal Facebook for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. You can also like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description of this very video, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook. Please make sure to check out some of my sponsorships. My first sponsorship being my girl, Brittany K. She is a wonderful woman, good friend of mine, big supporter of the brand. She does beautifully crafted graphic designs and drawings from scratch on her iPad of pro wrestlers. She also does X-Abbies and banners for any social media platforms. If you're looking for logos as well, she is also your girl. So if you're looking for any type of pro wrestling graphic designs or drawings or logos or abbies or banners, she is the woman to talk to. Please go and check her out. Her X account is Brittany K 5150, while her Instagram account is Brittany K Designs. Go check her out. You will not regret it. Shout out to Jay Leto, who, of course, is the creator of PWP Nation. We are actually live on the PWP Nation Facebook page as we speak. So Jay Leto, I always got to shout out Jay Leto. Great guy, probably one of the most chill guys that I've known. His wrestling takes aren't really all there. This is why he hired me, to bring a sense of intelligence to PWP Nation. We all know why PWP Nation has become as successful as it's been in the last few months. Let's just be honest here. But Jay Leto, great guy. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to collaborate with PWP Nation. And thank you very much for giving me the chance to stream live on the PWP Nation Facebook page. We are also live on the DJ Storms business page, as well as the DJ Storms Posse group chat. We're also live on Hardcore Sports X. We're also live on my X, the Hardcore Sports Twitch, and the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel as well. 8 different platforms and accounts that we are getting a nice wide outreach to. And finally, my last sponsorship goes out to a very special recruiting company, Corporate Information Systems. With more than 4 decades of experience, Corporate Information Systems is recognized by Forbes as one of America's best recruiting firms. They specialize in providing well-known and awesome recruiting solutions to companies in a variety of industries, such as high-tech, food and beverage, construction, and medical devices. Now, finding the right candidates can be a time-consuming and challenging process, to say the least, which is why CIS offers a wide range of services designed to make your recruitment process easier and more efficient. They provide a seamless and stress-free experience for both clients and candidates. So if you guys are looking for a trusted recruiting partner to help fill your hiring needs or help advance your career, please contact my friends over at Corporate Information System. You can follow them on the website www.cisrecruiters.com. Once again, www.cisrecruiters.com. Corporate Information System, placing talent where it can thrive. Of course, please make sure if you're watching right now that you hit the like button on the stream, no matter where you're watching it from, whether it be Facebook, Twitch, X, or YouTube. It is incredibly vital that you do so and share the stream out on all platforms, social media, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, because that way everyone will know that I'm live. Because when people come on in and they get their dose of DJ Storms, their life automatically becomes better, because that's what I do. That's just what I do. That's what I've been known for. I make people's lives better. That's just what I do. That's who I am. That's what I was put on this earth to accomplish. So please make sure you share out the stream on all platforms, social media. And of course, when you hit the like button, if you're watching on YouTube, my YouTube, or the Hardcore Sports YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We are 9 subs away from 2,200 subs on my channel. And we just recently surpassed 800 subs on the Hardcore Sports channel. We are on the road to 1,000. So if you haven't subscribed, go subscribe right now. And when you subscribe, got to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you're going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the absolute best time to be on YouTube. You know why? Because it's the only time that you're going to get to see this glorious, oh, so glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Hold on. It's in here. It's in here. It just gotta find it. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Look at that beautifully crafted magical ace black comb. I gotta blow on it. It's so hot. We're going to let it up right here on the LFU. You already know what time it is. We're going to let it up right here with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because like a beautifully crafted pork and cheese burrito with a side of pork sirloin soup. That's what I had for lunch today. That right there, just like me, I am just so good. I am the tastiest snack in the IWC, and you already know the drill. Everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. Now then, with that being said, why don't we get straight into the festivities here on the Lightning Flash update? You're damn right, it is a work of art. I am a work of art. Let's talk about TNA. Last Saturday at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, Saturday, October 21st, I believe, October 21st, Saturday, Impact Pro Wrestling, they had their Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which ended with Scott D'Amore announcing that the TNA brand is indeed making a return, while the show itself will be called TNA Impact. TNA Wrestling will be making a comeback. It was announced at the end of Bound for Glory last Saturday, and according to PW Insider, there will be new TNA Championship belts being rolled out with the current title holders using those belts instead. The new belts have already been crafted and produced, but they aren't likely to be used until January, because in January at Hard to Kill, that will be when the TNA brand will make the full revival. A lot of people have been just overhyping this. We're really making it out to be a big deal when in reality, they haven't really stopped to think what this actually means. I want you guys to process TNA for a minute. Everyone has always said that Impact Wrestling is so good and they're producing all these great matches. They have great storylines and they're great this and they're great that. If they're so great, then why don't I see Impact trending more on social media? Why don't I see Impact in the pro wrestling spotlight a little bit more? It's usually always WWE or AEW. Why exactly is Impact not getting the traction that people claim it should be getting? Here's a spoiler for you. Because Impact Wrestling sucks. I'm sorry if that pisses you off. I'm sorry if that gets under your skin. But Impact Wrestling is an objectively bad wrestling company. What difference does it make if they're going back to the TNA name? What difference does it make? Has anyone ever stopped to think about that? People say, oh my God, it has such great storylines. Are you even listening to yourself? What good storylines does Impact Wrestling have? Their storylines are terrible. The roster is fantastic. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Impact Wrestling has a wildly, and I mean a wildly talented roster. The people on that roster are fantastic at what they do. Excuse me. The people on that roster are fantastic at what they do. But the problem has always been their management and their creative direction. The show has absolutely no structure whatsoever. You have men facing women and vice versa. Championships mean nothing. Championships flip-flop between people like Halloween candy. Then you got the terrible production. The crowd, half the time, is completely dead. No engaging storylines whatsoever. How many legitimate storylines from Impact Wrestling over the last decade or so? Over the last decade, how many genuine, interesting storylines have you seen from Impact Wrestling? I can only name you two. Number one was when Kenny Omega infiltrated Impact Wrestling and he became the belt collector. And even then, that storyline benefited AEW more so than Impact. And then number two, Josh Alexander and his rise to the Impact World Championship when he defeated Moose back at Rebellion in 2022. I actually bought that pay-per-view. I actually bought Rebellion 2022 because I actually wanted to see that match. And ever since then, I have not paid attention to Impact since. Outside of those two storylines, I cannot name you one genuinely intriguing angle that Impact Wrestling has produced in the last 10 years. You know why? Because there is none. There's none. Impact Wrestling will not grow in the position that it's in right now, even with a name change. I see all these idiots try and claim, well, AEW it's a niche audience. You want to talk about niche audience? Impact Wrestling is as niche of a niche audience as you can get. AEW is actually growing. AEW actually has a wide, loyal fan base. The Impact fan base is not even 25, not even 15%, not even 10% of the AEW fan base. Little to no one cares about Impact. And you know why? It's because they have dug themselves so deep of a hole, and all the garbage and all of the trials and tribulations that they've gone through, they have been barely hanging on by a thread for God knows how long now. Probably since 2008, 2009. That's when Impact was last relevant. Maybe when Aces and Eights came around, but even then, Aces and Eights was a complete flop of a faction. Production is terrible. There's no genuine, intriguing storylines. They produce no match of the year candidates. People always say, oh, this was a match of the year candidate from Impact, and that was a match of the year candidate from Impact. No, it wasn't. great matches. They produce great matches. They have a great women's division. They have great main event talent. Josh Alexander's fantastic. Moose is fantastic. Eric Young is fantastic. Alex Shelley's fantastic. But at the end of the day, there is nothing genuinely intriguing. There is nothing that you can sink your teeth into with Impact Wrestling. It's same old, same old. Championships don't mean anything. How many times has an individual held a championship and then automatically it flip-flops to another team or another individual? How many times did the tag team titles of Impact Wrestling change hands throughout 2021? How many times? 6 times? 7 times? Is that really helping the championship? Is that really helping the individuals holding the championship? Of course not. But no one acknowledges that. The only title reign that meant anything of substance was Josh Alexander and his world title reign. That was the first Impact title reign in God knows how many years that actually felt important. Every other title reign just felt like another blah, middle-of-the-road title reign. You want to know how bad Impact Creative is? They needed to bring back Bully Ray earlier this year. They brought in 50-year-old Bully Ray. Yes, the same man that is doing Busted Open with Tommy Dreamer and Dave LaGreca. I actually like Dave LaGreca. I can't stand Bully Ray. They brought in Bully Ray. Bully Ray. Because they were running out of challengers for Josh Alexander and the World Championship. So they brought in Bully Ray to do the job for Josh Alexander. They have built up 0 new stars outside of Josh Alexander and Ace Austin. And Deonna Purrazzo, I guess you could say. But Deonna Purrazzo, she came from the WWE. And then when Steve Maclin finally won the World Championship, what did they do with Steve Maclin? They had him lose the title 2 months later to Alex Shelley. Not to take anything away from Alex Shelley, because Alex Shelley is amazing at what he does. But I mean, after how long of a journey towards the Impact World Championship? How long was Steve Maclin chasing the championship? 2 years? He finally won it, and he loses the title not even 65 days later. That's how you book a world champion? That's how you build new stars? That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. They could bring back Impact Wrestling as a show, and they can bring in the TNA name all they want. They can create new titles. They can create new logos. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it all, you can take a Big Mac and you can call it a fancy top-of-the-line sirloin burger, but it's still a Big Mac. It's still lowbrow food. And just like a Big Mac is still a Big Mac, no matter if you want to call it a fancy sirloin burger, Impact Wrestling is still a lowbrow wrestling show, no matter if they want to call it TNA. Doesn't matter. There will be no difference being made. If Impact really wants to grow, they need to get out of these VFW halls that they're hosting these shows in. They need to get out of these 600, 700 people shows. They need to get better promotion. You need to invest your money in better promotion. You can't do tape shows anymore. You can't do tape shows. Impact Wrestling, unless they are doing NXT black and gold style shows, which they're not, they need to be live on a weekly basis, and they're not. It's pre-taped. They're only live when they have these special pay-per-view events. Impact Creative is terrible. The promotion is terrible. Championships mean nothing. It doesn't matter what they call themselves, because Impact Wrestling will still be a low-brow wrestling company. It's that simple. I think that they have a fantastic roster. Don't get me wrong. Impact Wrestling has a fantastic roster with Josh Alexander, Deonna Purrazzo, and Alex Shelley, and Moose, Steve Maclin, so many other individuals. Jordan Grace is a very good women's wrestler, and great tag teams, whether it be Violent by Design or Ace Austin and Chris Bay or the Radicals, but their production sucks. Their promotional skills suck. The shows need to be live every week, and they're not. Their creative team is terrible. No engaging storylines whatsoever. And if you're going to tell me that there is, you're lying. Championships mean nothing. What is going to change just because they're going by the Impact Wrestling show and the TNA brand name again? Again, you can take a Big Mac and call it a fancy sirloin burger, but it's still a Big Mac. It's still lowbrow food, just like TNA Impact will always be a lowbrow wrestling company. Moving on here, we got ourselves some news regarding WWE championships. TNA is getting new championships. Ringside News actually reached out to a tenured member of the WWE creative team because there was a story going around about screen testing for new championship belts. And apparently, the tenured WWE source told Ringside News that, and I quote, is 100% fake news. So WWE is not getting new championships, but to be quite honest with you, minus the World Championship, the Women's World Championship, and maybe the NXT titles, outside of that, WWE's championship titles and their designs, they need a complete overhaul. The majority of WWE championship designs are lazy, and I mean lazy. It's the same exact logo every single time. It's very, very ugly designs, very, very ugly structures. The Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship, the two mid-card titles that they have, are ugly as can be. The TNT title and the International title put the Intercontinental and the United States title designs to shame. So if anything, I actually hope that WWE would invest in new title designs. I mean, my God, how much money are they making? How much money are they making now that they're a part of TKO? And you cannot give me quality championship title designs? If you're asking me, I wish it was real. I wish that story was real. Because WWE championship designs, at least the majority of them, they suck. Ringside News also asked about the possibility of a women's War Games match this year. They were told by a tenured member of the creative team that a women's War Games match has not been decided at this moment. Now, this was as of a few days ago. I am not sure where they're going to go, but to be quite frank with you, a women's War Games does not feel necessary this year. It, honest to God, does not feel necessary this year. What has been going on? Ask yourself this. What has been going on in the women's division on television that has warranted a War Games match? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no brand warfare tension. There's no faction that would fit good in a women's War Games match. Damage Control is virtually on the verge of breaking up right now because Bayley and Io Sky should be a future women's title program in the future in order to build up Io Sky and her title reign. What have they been doing with the women's division that has warranted a War Games match? The women's division isn't even worthy of a Survivor Series match. The WWE women's division right now sucks. A lot of things with WWE suck, but their women's division, they are at the bottom of the barrel right now. There are no intriguing storylines in the women's division. The only saving grace of WWE's main roster women's division right now is Io Sky and her championship reign, because Io Sky is actually putting on great matches as the women's champion. And I'm actually shocked that she's held the championship for this long, even with Triple H in charge. Even with him in charge, WWE cannot seem to let their fetish of Charlotte Flair go. Now, we're going to see Bianca in the championship title scene against Io at Crown Jewel. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but Bianca's really not doing anything unless they want to do another Damage Control War Games match, but we saw that last year. It was a decent little match for what it was, but it really wasn't anything memorable. Really wasn't anything memorable whatsoever. If anything, I wish that we would have gotten some blood in the War Games matches last year, because if we did, that would have actually made the matches a bit better. The War Games matches last year, in terms of wrestling ability, were kind of disappointing. Even the men's War Games match was disappointing. The men's War Games match was not built around wrestling. It was built around story. And I'm going to be quite honest with you right now. I'm at a point in time in my age as a wrestling fan. I don't care about any stories that go on in the world of wrestling. I just want to see a banger match. I legitimately do not care. But I realize that story and wrestling, they are necessary and they go together. This is why I say that I always speak objectively. I always put my personal opinions aside for the greater good of objectivity in pro wrestling. Now, objectively, Survivor Series last year was a very good show, but the War Games matches last year were kind of disappointing from an in-ring perspective, especially the women's match. So if we are not getting a women's War Games, I'm not going to sit here and complain. I'm really not going to sit here and complain because the women's division right now in WWE, it's just dead. AEW's women's division doesn't exactly have the best creative, don't get me wrong, but at least the AEW division, they're putting on decent week-to-week matches, minus this past Wednesday. That match with Shida and Ruby Soho was just not it. I don't know what happened, but that was not good at all. We'll talk about that when we get to the AEW portion of the review, but as far as the WWE women's division goes, they have absolutely nothing going for it. Even Rhea Ripley's title reign isn't good. The only thing that Rhea Ripley has done in her title reign that's been good was the match with Natalya back over the summer. In July, I believe it was, where she beat Natalya in what was probably the best match on that specific episode of Monday Night Raw. Women's wrestling in WWE sucks. So I'm glad that they don't have a War Games. And to be quite honest with you, they don't need one. Sticking with War Games, according to the daily update from Dave Meltzer, WWE is actually planning a War Games match for the men, but it is not going to be brand versus brand supremacy, which is actually great news, to be quite honest with you. It is great news because the brand versus brand warfare has been done to absolute death. The brand versus brand warfare has actually made Survivor Series one of the most lazy shows of the entire year because there's nothing on the line. If we would have actually had some genuine competition being formulated and structured between Raw and SmackDown, now that we have GMs, if we actually had legit competition, legit brand versus brand competition in which there were stakes on the line, whether it be this brand gets the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble, or this brand gets the main event of WrestleMania Night 2, or this brand and the winning brand will have the top 5 individuals on their Survivor Series team earn championship matches, whether it be a number 1 contenders fatal 5-way match at the next pay-per-view, and then the winner gets a title shot at the Royal Rumble. Something, a United States title opportunity, an Intercontinental title opportunity, whatever it may be, something of substance, so that way we will actually feel like we are watching a show that is important. But Survivor Series, outside of last year, Survivor Series for many, many years has been probably the weakest of the big 4 pay-per-views. It's honest to God been a downright complacent production on WWE's part. Honest to God, it's been a complacent production on WWE's part. I don't care how much money you're making. That doesn't give you or anyone else the right to be lazy. So I'm glad that this is not a brand versus brand warfare match for War Games, because there's a story going on right before our very eyes. Bloodline and the Judgment Day versus Cena, perhaps, if he's still around, maybe an LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso. That right there is your War Games match. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and John Cena versus Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest. That should be your War Games match. Everyone is tethered together. And that right there, you can formulate more than one storyline coming out of that match. Look at the possibilities. The brand versus brand warfare is not going to happen at Survivor Series inside of War Games. Good. It should have never even been a thought. The brand versus brand warfare tactic for Survivor Series has undoubtedly been one of the laziest concepts that WWE has ever come up with, because there's nothing on the line. There is no real tension between Raw or SmackDown. So I'm glad it's not going to be Raw versus SmackDown inside War Games, because you have a picture-perfect War Games match that you can shoe right in there for the men. Cody, Cena, LA Knight, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Solo Sikoa, and Jey Uso. And then you can formulate more than one story. Jey and Jimmy Uso and their feud going into WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and their storyline going into WrestleMania. Maybe if Cena's still around, if he's going to go into WrestleMania, maybe you can have Cena and LA Knight potentially gain some tension between one another. Either way, that right there is a much better tactic than Raw versus SmackDown inside War Games. Moving on here, let's talk about Crown Jewel for a minute. Brock Lesnar is currently not slated to be at Crown Jewel, according to PWP Insider and Ringside News. PW Insider and Ringside News reported that Brock Lesnar will not be a part of this year's Crown Jewel, and the reason behind it is because the company already feels that the show has enough star power. Show has enough star power, according to WWE. And you know what? I'm actually glad that Brock Lesnar is not on Crown Jewel this year. Some people are going to ask, oh my God, how could WWE not put Brock Lesnar on Crown Jewel this year? If they already have enough star power and it's already sold out, what do they need Brock Lesnar for? They're already making a ton of money from the show. Why do they need to put Brock Lesnar on the show? If you're asking me, Brock Lesnar, when he's put on a show, Brock Lesnar actually makes the shows worse. People are really overhyping Brock Lesnar and his ability. No one is watching the show for Brock Lesnar anymore. The appeal of Brock Lesnar has worn off. I don't care if they're partnered with the UFC or not. Brock Lesnar does not draw. They don't. It doesn't. Brock Lesnar is not a draw anymore. If he was a draw, people would actually be tuning in to watch Monday Night Raw when he's on. And when he's on Monday Night Raw, they still get the same exact ratings as they would have gotten if he's not on the show. They still get a 1.6 or a 1.7, whether Brock Lesnar is there or not. And on top of that, Brock Lesnar, as we speak, is probably the laziest that he has ever been. Brock Lesnar's current run with the WWE since he returned at SummerSlam 2021, this has undoubtedly been the worst Brock Lesnar run that we have ever seen. Outside of his match with Cody this year at SummerSlam and his match with Roman Reigns last year at SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar has legitimately done nothing of substance. His matches are booked the exact same way. Suplex, F5, suplex, F5. Knee to the gut, suplex, F5, knee to the gut, F5, F5, F5. It's the same match every single time outside of the two matches that I just named. And to be quite honest with you, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I would pay Brock Lesnar to sit at home for the rest of his contract within WWE. And a lot of people are pretty much done with Brock Lesnar. He offers nothing of substance, and he doesn't draw. So why even bother bringing him back? I'm glad that he's not on the show. Moving on here to someone who is not lazy, someone who's probably one of the hardest working individuals in pro wrestling today, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has hired Barry Bloom to represent him in future negotiations when it comes to contracts. Bloom currently handles Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. The belief is that Ospreay is setting up Bloom to get him the best big money offer possible when he hits the free agent market. And I know that James Punaseca, he knows all about Will Ospreay. I actually told him to go check out Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega from this past June at Forbidden Door. He actually said that he was very much impressed with Will Ospreay, and it was probably one of the best matches that he's ever seen. So James Punaseca, he knows all about Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay, apparently, he also has interest from WWE, according to Ringside News. A source even told Ringside News, ask me again in a few weeks, implying that they are actually keeping an eye on what Will Ospreay is doing. Will Ospreay, by the way, just gave Impact Wrestling their first ever 5-star match in almost 2 decades. And that right there is really saying something. That right there is really, really saying something. And I could not be happier for what Will Ospreay is doing right now. Will Ospreay is probably the most sought-after pro wrestler right now. I am not even kidding. It doesn't matter who's in WWE. It doesn't matter who's in AEW. Will Ospreay right now is the most sought-after pro wrestler as we speak. If there's one guy that's been able to rival what MJF has done this year, it's Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is an absolute beast at what he does. And the fact that he hired Barry Bloom, you know for a fact that he was going to try and get the biggest money offer possible. But in hindsight, I just can't see him going to WWE. I can't see him going to WWE because they'll change his name, they'll have him start from scratch, and all they're going to do is hold him back. Honest to God, WWE will not allow Will Ospreay to be Will Ospreay. AEW will, and AEW has. But there is a pecking order in WWE. If you are not homegrown, if you are not their tried and true, if you are not related to a famous professional wrestler of the past, then you have a ceiling and you are going to be in a position where you are held back. LA Knight right now is probably one of the luckiest individuals on the planet to be in the position in which he's in right now. And his momentum's about to die in a week. Because in a week, he's going to lose to Roman Reigns and he will be ruined. He's not going to feel the same anymore. He will be ruined. It will feel like the momentum that LA Knight had almost never existed after Roman Reigns gets done with him, even though he should really win. But Will Ospreay, I cannot see WWE allowing Will Ospreay to be Will Ospreay in NXT or on Raw or on SmackDown, because we all know Will Ospreay should be a main eventer. If Will Ospreay is there, he should be in the main event title scene within a year. If Will Ospreay signs with the WWE, he should be on Raw or SmackDown, and he should be in the main event title scene within a year. Is that going to happen? Of course not. On top of that, look at the plans that WWE already has laid out. They have so much material laid out with the individuals that they have on tap already. So why exactly do they need to sign Will Ospreay? Gunther should be in line for a world title reign. We should have Damian Priest in line for a world title reign. Ilya Dragunov should be in line for a main roster call-up. Roxanne Perez should be in line for a main roster call-up. Tiffany Stratton should be in line for a main roster call-up. Shayna Baszler should be in line for a major push. They should have a renaissance in the tag team division. We should get DIY versus the Judgment Day for the tag team titles. How much material do they already have lined up with the people that they have on tap already? They do not need Will Ospreay. Now, AEW doesn't need Will Ospreay either, but Will Ospreay will absolutely add depth to the main event scene in AEW. And he could very well be a challenger for MJF. Who knows? He could very well take the title off of MJF. Maybe we see Will Ospreay make his way into AEW, and when Adam Cole takes the title off MJF, maybe we're getting Will Ospreay versus Adam Cole. Maybe Will Ospreay is going to be in the main event of next year's All In. Who knows? Who knows? But Will Ospreay, as we speak right now, easily one of the most sought-after pro wrestlers on the face of this planet, and he will be worth every single penny that whichever company pays him for. And by the way, he should not go to Impact. Unless we will see a true rejuvenation process of Impact/TNA, unless we do get live shows, unless they do get a TV deal, unless they do get better creative, unless they do get better stories, unless they do start running bigger arenas and they get better promotion, I cannot see Will Ospreay signing with Impact Wrestling, even though he gave Impact Wrestling one of their best matches in a long, long time. Moving on here to some of my final reports before we get into the weekly show reviews. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful opened up about Vince McMahon losing his creative power, and he actually stated that Vince McMahon indeed had a hand in blocking certain superstars from appearing on TV. I mean, no duh. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have seen that coming. Of course, Vince blocked certain superstars from appearing on WWE TV. Why do you think Johnny Gargano wasn't seen for about 4 months? Why do you think that Bronson Reed wasn't seen for 4 weeks at a time? Why do you think Ciampa was off of TV? Why do you think Mustafa Ali was moved down to NXT? Why do you think we don't see Dexter Lumis, huh? Why do you think we didn't see Tegan Knox Why do you think we didn't see J.D. McDonough? Why do you think we didn't see Xia Li? Why do you think we were not seeing all of those individuals? Why do you think we weren't seeing the Viking Raiders, huh? Why do you think? It's because Vince McMahon had a hand in blocking them from appearing on TV. Why do you think that Imperium was losing so much? Minus Gunther. Because of Vince McMahon. Come on. If you do not comprehend or understand what the difference is between a Vince McMahon show and a Triple H show, I think you really need to get yourself checked out because you are clearly not all there. Of course he was blocking superstars from appearing on TV. Just look who's on TV now versus who was on TV or who wasn't on TV when Vince McMahon was in charge before Triple H was given the keys to the kingdom by Ari Emanuel. Dave Meltzer, he came in with an interesting report while speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio. Dave Meltzer reported that Drew McIntyre has still not re-signed with the WWE. And it looks like that Drew McIntyre's deal could come up sometime around WrestleMania 40 season, which, by the way, is rapidly approaching. Trust me on that. WrestleMania season is rapidly, and I mean rapidly approaching. It's going to show up sooner than you think. But as far as Dave Meltzer goes, and how he reported that Drew McIntyre will not be re-signing with the WWE, Dave Meltzer isn't always accurate. Don't get me wrong. He's not always accurate. He's not always on the money with certain things. But when it comes to this, I can honest to God see Drew McIntyre walking. I can honest to God see Drew McIntyre choosing not to resign with the WWE. And I can honest to God see Drew McIntyre potentially migrating over to AEW. Why wouldn't AEW want Drew McIntyre? Why wouldn't AEW want to tap into the potential with Drew McIntyre? And if anything, the fact that he's felt like he's done everything there is to do in the WWE, maybe moving to AEW would be the best thing for him. Drew McIntyre has not yet re-signed with the WWE. To be quite honest with you, it doesn't surprise me. Drew McIntyre right now, it honest to God feels like he's just trying to ride out the rest of his contract. He's going to go forth with this heel turn, but he may very well fall into the role of a Braun Breaker type heel. Braun Breaker is pulling off some great promo work and some great matches as a heel, but all he's doing is losing. So it wouldn't shock me if Drew McIntyre slips into that role. If he hasn't resigned, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't resign and then he leaves the WWE after WrestleMania 40. We could very well see him on AEW TV by Double or Nothing. And to be quite honest with you, that could very well be what he needs. Imagine Drew McIntyre versus a Wardlow, versus MJF, versus Bryan Danielson, versus Ricky Starks, versus Kenny Omega, versus Hangman Adam Page and Swerve. Drew McIntyre honestly has a good chance of leaving WWE. Speaking of the WWE recently announced that they have a brand new premium live event coming up, Bash in Berlin, which is set to take place on August 31st, 2024 at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin, Germany. And that is just a mere 6 days after we have AEW All In, so you know for a fact that they are doing everything in their power to just be petty towards All Elite Wrestling. And again, that right there, it just really gets under my skin because they want to act like AEW is not competition, but yet they are pulling off a pay-per-view legitimately 6 days after AEW's biggest show of the year, what will now be AEW's biggest show of the year going forward into the next God knows how many years. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what am I supposed to think? WWE is a petty wrestling company. They are piss poor. They are pathetic. Now, that being said, I think that this is a great move because the international crowds are perhaps the best crowds out of any professional wrestling crowd throughout the year, whether it be Puerto Rico, Saudi Arabia, the UK, Germany. I'm telling you, the international crowds are really where it's at. And if I'm going to book this show Here's what I would do. Gunther wins the Royal Rumble. Obviously, we know that. Gunther loses the Intercontinental Championship and he wins the Royal Rumble. He should fight Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Damian Priest should cash in his Money in the Bank contract a la Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. And then we should see Damian Priest win the title by pinning Rollins. And Gunther, he is built up towards Bash in Berlin. Damian Priest, Gunther, Bash in Berlin. And that's when Gunther wins the title. That right there will make his win feel more important than doing it at WrestleMania, to be fair. You know why? Because those are his people. That is going to be Gunther's people in the European area. So I would rather Gunther win the World Heavyweight title on his home turf rather than doing it at WrestleMania. And on top of that, you can't have Damian Priest and his Money in the Bank contract go to waste. You can't. So have him cashed in, give him a solid 5 months as champion, and then have him drop it to Gunther at Bash in Berlin. Some people are saying Gunther and Ilya Dragunov. Too soon for that. We don't need to go forth with that. Have Dragunov get called up after WrestleMania, and then you can build up Ilya Dragunov to potentially fight for the Intercontinental title, and then maybe if you want to, Dragunov could win the Royal Rumble next year, and we could get Gunther and Dragunov at WrestleMania 41. What's the rush with Dragunov? How old is he? 28, 29? Guy's a stud. Guy's got at least 10 to 15 years left in the business. You do not need to rush Gunther and Dragunov. That is a WrestleMania match. And my final report here. According to Wrestle Purist, CM Punk was given an offer by Impact Wrestling to appear on the Bound for Glory pay-per-view last Saturday. However, CM Punk turned down the offer. Now, why did Punk turn down the offer? There's only two reasons that I could honestly come up with. Number one, he's not allowed to talk any contract obligations with any pro wrestling company because there's probably a non-compete clause, or maybe he's already struck a deal with the WWE. To be quite honest with you, I would be shocked. I would be dead shocked if CM Punk does not show up in the WWE, whether it be at Survivor Series or whether it be at the Royal Rumble. I would honest to God be shocked because there's money to be made. CM Punk going back to WWE would easily make WWE by default the hottest wrestling company in the world just because of CM Punk coming back after all, and I mean all of the controversy and the tensions that were built up between CM Punk and WWE, and we already know the history between Punk and WWE. Honest to God, that would be, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest, and I mean the biggest move that WWE could make. But if Punk comes in, there's obviously some pros and cons to it. A lot of cons would mainly come at the hands of creative writing because now you got to slot CM Punk into a top spot. Realistically speaking, the only spot that CM Punk should be in is a match with Roman at WrestleMania, and he should beat Roman, but that is reserved for Cody Rhodes. I don't know. I honest to God don't know what their plan is. I'm not even sure what CM Punk is even thinking right now. CM Punk even shut down the Survivor Series rumors. For all we know, he could be completely BSing us, and he could end up showing up at the Royal Rumble. He may not show up at Survivor Series. Maybe he's right about Survivor Series, but the Royal Rumble, I'd say that's a pretty, and I mean a pretty hefty yes from both WWE and CM Punk. That would probably be one of the best returns ever if CM Punk returns at the Rumble. But Impact Wrestling. I don't know where CM Punk's head's at. I honestly, God, don't know where his head's at. For all we know, maybe he could have accepted the offer. Maybe he turned it down because he is currently weighing his options. Maybe he doesn't want to go back to pro wrestling. Maybe he's just not feeling it right now. Maybe some people are even saying that CM Punk is the man behind the devil mask on AEW TV. because they're telling a storyline with MJF and a dude in a devil mask who is trolling Bullet Club Gold and MJF. For all we know, that could be CM Punk. I don't think it is, to be fair. Honest to God, I don't think it is. I don't think that AEW would go forth and pull that. That is too big of a work. That is way too big of a work. I don't believe that they'll do that. But, I mean, it's a possibility. It's out there. CM Punk could very well return to AEW, and we could all be taken for fools. Either way, we don't know where CM Punk's head is at as we speak. But he declined the offer from Impact. Again, maybe he doesn't want to go to Impact, or maybe he's not allowed to make any pro wrestling appearances. I guess we'll find out in the next month. We'll find out in the next month. We're going to be keeping our eyes out. We're going to be keeping our eyes out for sure. The eyes of the world will be on Survivor Series one way or another. Those are your news, rumors, and reports. Hope you guys are having a good time with the stream. Thank you very much for sticking with me. You guys have been awesome all stream long. You guys have been awesome. Thank you very much for Dee Dee to stop by and have some fun with good old DJ Shizzle Dizzle. Plenty more material to talk about. We're going to get into the weekly show reviews. We got Monday Night Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and Rampage. I don't know what happened, but Raw and SmackDown this week, they just did not hit like they've been hitting. They just did not hit like they've been hitting. I am not sure what went down. I'm not sure what happened, but Monday Night Raw was extremely, and I mean extremely boring. SmackDown was slightly better, but even then, SmackDown can be classified as boring as well. It, honest to God, felt like Triple H was just phoning in these shows. He's got the card set for Crown Jewel. It's going to be a great show, so he doesn't need to put any effort into anything that's going on Raw or SmackDown. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Finn Balor and Damian Priest, they kicked off the show. Standard, stereotypical Judgment Day promo, opening the show, relishing in their tag team title victory, and then Cody Rhodes interrupted. Everyone's favorite Cody Rhodes. By the way, he's got a hurt leg now. So he's walking around with a bum leg, a bum ankle. Adrenaline in my soul. One-legged man named Cody Rhodes. Oh! Cody Rhodes. He came out and he says that he's here to talk to the leader of the Judgment Day, but Rhea Ripley isn't out here. I would also say that aside from Dominic, she's your mommy too. So she's out here cutting all the deals, including the deal with the Bloodline. I would like to speak to you, Damian Priest, said Cody. You gave me a low blow, and if you thought that that was the final shot, you are wrong. So Priest says that he's happy that Cody found him because he would have found Cody anyway. So he goes, there's a lot to talk about, including your story. But at this point, your story has got to be that you fail. Cody then wanted to fight, and then Priest then challenged Cody at Crown Jewel. Cody accepted. He asked what to do now. Why don't we give everyone a preview of Crown Jewel? And all of a sudden, Judgment Day came out. Jey Uso came out as well. JD McDonough came out to shift the advantage in Judgment Day's favor. They put a chair around Cody's leg and then smashed another chair into it, which shattered his leg. So Cody Rhodes went into the Brock Lesnar feud with an injured arm. Now he's going into a Judgment Day feud with Damian Priest with an injured leg. At this point, he's going to be in a neck brace and a wheelchair by the time he gets to WrestleMania 40. Same open that we've seen for God knows how many weeks. It did what it needed to do. Priest and Cody should put on a great match, but at the end of the day, it was the same exact open that we've been seeing for the last 5 months on Monday Night Raw. Alpha Academy. They took on the New Day. This was actually a pretty solid tag team match. We had a fireman's carry into a power slam by Xavier Woods. We had a German suplex barrage by Gable. That got a 2 count. We had a Steiner Bulldog by the Alpha Academy, but Kofi Kingston saved the match. Otis then with the Caterpillar on Kofi. Otis was then sent into the post. Blind tag by Gable. Woods went for the Caterpillar, but Gable caught him in an ankle lock. We had a roll through for 2. We tagged. We had Woods tagging Kofi. We had a springboard axe handle. Tag back to Woods. Trouble in Paradise. Tope Con Hero by Kofi taking out Otis. And then Woods with the diving elbow drop. And Xavier Woods gets the win and his team. And I'm guessing that the New Day are going to be challengers for the Judgment Day following Crown Jewel. And that was pretty much that. Solid little tag team match. I'm glad that tag team wrestling has actually taken a little bit more of a focus on Monday Night Raw. But after this is where the show started to go downhill. Rhea Ripley and Seth Rollins had a little segment. And Rhea Ripley says, I don't know how you're going to have a title reign like Roman Reigns with a bad back. We can make people acknowledge you. Rollins then said that he doesn't want to be anything like Roman Reigns. Rhea then said, that wasn't a no. Think about it. Now, I'm not really sure where they're going here. I'm not sure if Seth Rollins is going to be a part of War Games. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Indy Hartwell, she challenged Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Champion, and this was one of those cases in which I say that women's wrestling in WWE is just completely dead, and they have absolutely nothing going for it. I'm not sure what they were thinking with this match, but this was not a good match at all. This was downright boring. Very, very basic, very, very lame match. The crowd was dead, and it just further proves that Becky Lynch is literally doing nothing for the NXT Women's Championship. Thank God she lost it to Lyra Valkyria. But even then, I got my reservations on that. So let me go over this, and then I'm going to get into Becky and Lyra, and I'm going to rant about that. So Indy Hartwell, she was doing her normal moves, diving elbow to the back, reverse DDT by Becky. We had a power bomb by Indy Hartwell, spine buster for a 2. In the end, Becky got the disarmor, and Indy Hartwell tapped. Crowd was dead. WWE crowds, before I get into Becky and Lyra, WWE crowds are sold out, okay? People want to make a big deal. Well, you know, WWE sells out arenas. That is something that AEW cannot do. Right? Sold out weekly, apparently. Seems like WWE is selling out weekly. And yet the crowd, for half the show, sometimes 80% of the show, is as dead as a corpse. Think about that. Zero noise outside of Cody, outside of Rollins, outside of the Judgment Day. Outside of those 3 acts, the crowd is completely silent for everyone else. What does that tell you, huh? I would much rather have a crowd that is half filling the arena. I would much rather have a crowd of 5,000 people that are making all the noise in the world rather than having a crowd of 15,000 people and all they're doing is sitting on their hands dead quiet. WWE US crowds are perhaps some of the worst wrestling crowds in the entire industry right now. They may be worse than Impact Wrestling crowds. Now, as far as Becky and Lyra go, so Becky Lynch, the whole point of Becky Lynch winning the NXT Women's Championship was to drive up the ratings because that's all they were doing it for. They're doing it because they can't be bothered to generate any genuine intrigue, any genuine interest on Tuesday nights on their own with the talent that they have. So they need to bring in Becky Lynch, and she wins the NXT Women's title. She literally did nothing with it. She had a couple of decent matches, but she did nothing with it. She has a couple of good matches with Tiffany Stratton, but she ultimately ends up burying Tiffany Stratton, ultimately to drop the title to Lyra Valkyria at Halloween Havoc after 42 days. 42 days as the NXT Women's Champion, and the NXT era is over. I mean, am I losing my mind here or am I losing my mind here? So let me ask you all a question. and I'm actually going to speak to WWE because I know that they're watching me. If Becky Lynch was ultimately going to lose the title after a month and a half, if Lyra Valkyria was ultimately going to win the NXT Women's title next, why didn't you just keep the title on Tiffany Stratton and then have Tiffany drop the title to Lyra at Halloween Havoc? Why did we need to take a Becky Lynch detour? She actually did more harm to the division than good. She buried everyone that she stood into the ring with. She was not beneficial to NXT whatsoever. You know why? Because when she won the NXT Women's title, the ratings were up, and then they went right back down to 624,000 people on a weekly basis, literally a week, 2 weeks after she won the championship. She did nothing for the NXT Women's Championship. And the only reason why NXT beat AEW is because they brought in John Cena and The Undertaker and Cody Rhodes and all these other different legends that had no business being on NXT. It was nothing more than a petty attempt at ratings because they got to protect their market share, says Jay Leto. Thank God he has me, because if he didn't have me, PWP Nation would not be as successful as it is right now. And you can send that clip to him too. Maybe I'll just tell him when I see him earlier today. See, what they should have done if you wanted to use Becky Lynch on NXT, if you actually wanted to use Becky to help build up new talent like she should have done, there's no reason why Becky Lynch should even be in the conversation of ever winning a championship ever again. She's a made woman. She's no better than Charlotte. She's a made woman that continues to take the spotlight. What they should have done is they should have had Becky build a legitimate program with Tiffany going into NXT No Mercy. Tiffany should have beaten Becky Lynch at NXT No Mercy, and she would still be the champion. Then Becky should have fought Lyra at Halloween Havoc with no title. Lyra would have beaten Becky, and then you could have built up Lyra versus Tiffany at NXT Deadline at the beginning of December. And then Tiffany would have had a nice, solid amount of time with the championship. Lyra would have had a big-time match with Becky on NXT TV. She could have still gotten the victory, just like she did this past Tuesday. She could have still gotten the victory, and then she would have gone to Deadline on a pay-per-view in front of a bigger crowd, and then she would have won the NXT Women's title then. That's what they should have done. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I think it's about time that people start listening to the 24-year-old Jersey kid, because let me tell you something. When it comes to pro wrestling, I am a god. I am a god at this. No one is above me. I am so happy that Becky Lynch is not NXT Women's Champion anymore. I don't ever want to see her ever again. I'm done with Becky Lynch. I'm counting down the days until she retires. I really am. If you cannot increase your market share, if you cannot protect your market share without the use of legends and without burying your current day talent, then you know what? You suck at your job. But you'll never hear Jay Leto say that because he doesn't know any better. He's a WWE stooge waiting for Vince McMahon to come and tuck him in and read him a story. Read me a book, would you, Dada? Can you imagine Vince McMahon reading a bedtime story? Imagine that. Once upon a time, pal, there were 3 little pigs. One built his house out of straw. One built his house out of twigs. One built his house out of bricks. Imagine that. That's Jay Leto's night for you. Tucked into bed by Vince. Moving on here. Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce, he officiated a contract signing for the Women's Championship Fatal 5-Way match. Maria says, you are rough on your partner. Listen, as a person, I think he's one of the best guys I think I've ever met. As a person, he is a very chill guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, one of the most knowledgeable guys I've ever met, one of the most reasonable guys I've ever met. He's a very intelligent man. As a wrestling fan, he's changed. As a wrestling fan, he is not what he used to be. He's become a WWE shill right down to the very last letter. He says the same tired excuses about AEW every week. Meanwhile, AEW is putting on objectively better shows than WWE. If he would just admit that he's a WWE stooge, I would just end it right then and there. I wouldn't say another thing about him. As a person, he's great. As a wrestling fan, he's a moron. And he knows that. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. I know he feels the same way about me too. But here's the difference. My feelings are valid. His are not. I'm right. He's wrong. Let me get back to the material here. Adam Pearce. He officiated the contract signing for the Fatal 5-Way match for the women's title at Crown Jewel. Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, Nia Snax, Zoe Stark, and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley actually came out. She actually came off very well. She cut a promo, and she promised that she will make Adam Pearce's life a living hell if he continues to try and set Rhea Ripley up for failure. You're just going to have 4 less women in my division because Mommy is always on top. Nia then took the mic, and she said, "You won't step in the ring? Oh, I see. You want me to squash all of them for you." So she started being very sarcastic. My ears were beginning to bleed from how bad her promo was. We get a big brawl, and that was it. The match itself should be fine. But this is as lazy as you can get. And it just further validates what I said last week. Rhea Ripley's title reign has been horrible. In no way, shape, or form should Rhea Ripley be number 1 on Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 250 women. That belongs to Athena. Giovanni Vinci and Johnny Gargano, this went legitimately 2.5 minutes. This was absolutely inexcusable. In no universe should Giovanni Vinci and Johnny Gargano be getting 2.5 minutes. So you can barely give them 2.5 minutes, but you give Indy Hartwell and Becky Lynch 10 minutes. Yeah, makes sense. And by the way, Indy Hartwell is terrible. She should have never left NXT. Tommaso Ciampa helped Johnny Gargano get the win. Who cares? Logan Paul came out to address the crowd. Nothing of substance whatsoever. Dominic Mysterio came out with the piped-in crowd noises, turning his mic down and turning the crowd mic up. He mocked Ricochet's fiancée, Samantha Irving. And Ricochet actually came out. He attacked Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio. Next week, we got Dominic Mysterio and Ricochet. I'm not really sure if they're building towards Logan Paul and Ricochet at Survivor Series, but it is looking all but confirmed that Logan Paul is going to be winning the United States Championship at Survivor Series from Rey Mysterio. And if that's the case, then I think a match with Ricochet at Survivor Series would do wonders. I think that would be a fantastic route to go. Natalya and Nikki Cross, they took on Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Nikki just walked away. She looked like she was in a trance. She had this blank look on her face, like, that's all she looked like. So Natalya went at it alone. Natalya caught the unpretty her and the big cross body. WWE Women's Division sucks. That's all I got from this. The Women's Division sucks. Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. Easily the best thing on the show. Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. Pay-per-view worthy match on TV. Sami Zayn was caught with a nice vertical suplex. Drew with a massive chop. Zayn then with a clothesline and some big forearms. Pescado over the top, but Drew caught him and flung him over the announce table. Coming back from commercial, we had a big superplex by Zayn. Clothesline to the floor. Tope Con Hero over the top onto Drew. Sunset flip powerbomb by Zayn for a 2. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Glasgow kiss by Drew. Claymore met with a boot. Blue Thunder Bomb. That got a 2. Drew with a belly-to-belly throw and a neck breaker. All of a sudden, Rhea Ripley then came out. And she caused a distraction. Sami Zayn with an exploder suplex into the corner. Rhea distracted Zayn. Drew McIntyre took advantage with the Claymore, and Drew McIntyre gets the win. Very good match. What does this mean? I am not sure if Drew McIntyre is going to be in War Games, but listen, if Drew McIntyre is putting on great matches and he's going into a match with Seth Rollins next week, that should be one hell of a fight in Saudi Arabia. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Bronson Reed and Akira Tozawa, Tsunami for the win. That was it. Who cares? Thank you very much for stopping by, Hula Grim. Hula Grim, you are fantastic. Oh, by the way, Hula Grim, you're going to be needed next month on the 21st for Survivor Series Rundown. And then on Sunday, December 17th, you're joining me on the Rewind for Ring of Honor Final Battle. I'm just letting you know. You got a busy 2 months ahead of you. By the way, the people at Hardcore Sports, they're looking to recruit you full-time. So it looks like you're going to be a full-time content creator. Main event. Main event was Jey Uso. Jey Uso. I don't know why. I have a cough now, and I can't really talk. Jey Uso and Damian Priest. Jey Uso and Damian Priest. The match was fine. I mean, I'm not gonna take anything away from them, but again, same main event that we've seen for God knows how many months. Judgment Day, Damian Priest, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn. Who cares? Who cares? It's the same garbage every week. Damian Priest actually got the win here. Damian Priest got the win. Balor then attacked Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes came out hobbling on one leg, and he swung a chair violently, and he tried to crush Damian Priest's leg, but Finn Balor pulled him out of dodge, and that was it. That was the way that the show went off of the air. Boring. Boring as boring could be. The only two things that I would honestly go back and rewatch were Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, and then the New Day and the Alpha Academy. Outside of that, this show was atrocious in every sense of the word. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but Triple H clearly phoned it in. I'll tell you who didn't phone it in. Tony Khan did not phone it in, because Dynamite this week was a very, very good show. Really good show, if we're going to be quite honest with you. We had a lot of great wrestling, a lot of great story, and a lot of good things to look forward to. We have a lot of things going forth into AEW Full Gear, and it's going to be one hell of a pay-per-view to say the least. And we actually have a new pay-per-view too. It's called AEW World's End on December 30th. I don't really know why that they're doing a pay-per-view then. I would have done it at the beginning of January, but that's just me. I wouldn't have called it World's End. I would have called it something else. I would have probably have done a Fighter Fest or a Fight for the Fallen, and I would have made that a pay-per-view. But that's just me. So we had MJF. He had a run-in with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. He actually shoved Strong away in a wheelchair. MJF then said to Juice Robinson, "I have a bullet with your name on it, and I'm not going to miss." All of a sudden, the man in the devil mask came up on the screen before the screen went to black. So they're obviously teasing this devil masked man. Who's it going to be? I'm sure that we'll find out going into the coming months, probably after Full Gear. Juice Robinson and MJF. This was for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and we got ourselves one very fun match to kick off the show. Crowd was hot for MJF. He went right after Juice. Juice was sent into the post. Juice was busted open. Juice took over with a DDT on the ring apron. Coming back from commercial, Max mounted a comeback, and we had MJF with rapid-fire punches. He bit Juice Robinson in the forehead. Kangaroo kick and a kip up. The Guns then tripped up MJF behind the referee's back. MJF then caught the left hand of God and then a power bomb. That got a 2. Max then with a suicide dive taking out the Guns. Max had the ropes kicked into his groin. Juice hit the Juices loose, but MJF kicked out. The Guns then tried to get involved again, but MJF hit Juice Robinson with the Dynamite Diamond Ring behind the referee's back. He then hit the Guns and then delivered the Heat Seeker, and MJF retains the Dynamite Diamond Ring and continues his monumentous role as the biggest babyface in the company. Afterwards, the Guns then attacked. All of a sudden, the Kingdom and Roderick Strong came out, and the Acclaimed came out as well. So Jay White, he was pissed off. He told MJF to focus on him. He said that you're never going to get your hands on the Bang Bang belt ever again. You will breathe with the Switchblade, said Jay White. Austin Gunn then challenged MJF to a handicap match at Full Gear. So MJF will be defending the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles in a handicap match against the Guns. And the Guns are going to be the recipients of the MJF rub. So he already gave the rub to the Dark Order. He already gave the rub to the Righteous. Looks like he's going to give the rub to the Guns as well. Should be a fun little match. MJF then accepted the Guns challenge, and then he accepted Jay White's offer for an 8-man tag. So he was kind of conflicted on who he was going to choose. Was he going to choose Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, or was he going to choose the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass? And he actually said that he wouldn't choose either of them. Not really sure what's going to happen, but Samoa Joe actually approached him. And Samoa Joe said that he'll be MJF's partner if MJF gives him a world title match. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We then had MJF walking up the ramp, and all of a sudden, Kenny Omega walked right out. And Kenny Omega had the microphone. The crowd was chanting, "Holy shit." Kenny Omega brought up the fact that he is the longest reigning AEW World Champion as we speak. And he said that if you really are the scumbag that they want you to be, how about you give me the right to defend my streak? And MJF said, okay, how about this? The Cleaner versus the Devil this Saturday night for the AEW World Championship. May the best man win, and he will, because my name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and I'm better than you. And then he put the microphone up to the crowd, and they said, and you know it. Omega then shook MJF's hand and then said into his ear, 3 days, bitch. Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And this was perhaps one of, if not, the hottest open to an AEW Dynamite ever. This was brilliant. Everything was tethered together. Everything had a purpose. Everything had meaning. And above all else, everything had story. So for anyone that wants to gargle on the WWE ball sack and say, AEW doesn't have any story, watch the 30 minutes of Dynamite. And if you're going to tell me that they have no story, I'm going to need you to take a hike and find a new hobby, because you don't know jack about wrestling. If you ain't saying what I'm saying, you don't know jack. This was an excellent open, one of the hottest opens to AEW Dynamite ever. And tonight on Collision, MJF and Kenny Omega, if you guys have TNT, I would highly encourage you watch Collision tonight, because MJF and Kenny Omega, they are going to absolutely kill it. They're going to kill it. Hot open, hot 30 minutes. And on top of that, there's a lot more. There's even more story with MJF, because Wardlow, he had a promo package. He had a video package saying that he was sitting at home with nothing but his thoughts, and he was watching MJF become one of the biggest stars in the business after all of the bad things that he did. And after MJF took everything from him, he will now take everything from MJF. Love it. Simple. It's simple. It is so simple. It is so straightforward. It's like right there. It's so perfect to tell. Wardlow is pissed off at MJF for stealing all of his thunder when Wardlow was the hottest babyface in the industry and MJF cut that pipe bomb back, coincidentally, in the Kia Forum. He cut the pipe bomb in the Kia Forum. So it's a picture-perfect story to tell. Wardlow and MJF, it is a rich story that they're going to tell. And if anything, it's a story that should extend going into next year with Wardlow inevitably siding with MJF, sticking by his side, and the rest of the Pinnacle will follow. The rest of the Pinnacle will follow, and we will have a blood and guts match with the Pinnacle and MJF and Adam Cole's posse. It's going to be the Pinnacle and MJF versus Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and the Kingdom. It has to be. Rob Van Dam and Hook, they took on the Dark Order, and this was a decent little match right here. Dark Order, as you can see, they are very underrated at what they do. Hook with an exploder suplex to John Silver. We had a spinning leg drop to the back. Savate kick by Rob Van Dam on Reynolds. It's amazing how Rob Van Dam is so good, even at his age. In the end, RVD with the 5-star frog splash on Reynolds. Hook with the red rum on Silver, and Silver ended up tapping out. Pretty decent little match right here, not going to lie. Pretty decent little match, and in the end, Hook is developing himself a nice little relationship with Rob Van Dam. I would not mind if RVD gets a short little deal. Imagine the matches that RVD could have with the bigger names. Imagine the matches with Daniel Garcia and Darby Allin and Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland and Kenny Omega. Imagine that. It doesn't even have to be a 3-year deal. Just give him like a 6-month deal, a short 6-month deal, and just throw out a bunch of dream matches. Simple as that. Tony Schiavone, he interviewed Darby Allin and Sting. Sting thanked Philly and Darby Allin for his run in AEW. He thanked Tony Khan for the opportunity, giving him a chance to wrestle just a little bit longer. Tony Schiavone then said that Tony Khan and the rest of AEW should be thanking Sting. We are proud to be a part of Sting's career. The crowd chanted, "Thank you, Sting." And then Tony Schiavone brought out Sting's gift, which was Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, to chants of "Holy shit." Ric Flair walked down to the ring. He embraced Sting. He embraced Tony Schiavone. He looked legitimately happy to be there. And this was probably one of the more genuine Ric Flair moments that I honestly remember. You know, Ric Flair, he's a character, and he's still living the character, if we're going to be quite honest with you. Ric Flair still lives the character, but Ric Flair genuinely came off like an individual that is very, very grateful that he was able to be a part of Sting's career. So Ric Flair said that there are moments that are just magical, and it's the magic of those moments and the chemistry that they create that makes you the best. He goes, 1988 Clash of Champions, we went up against WrestleMania, and whether it's 35 years ago or today, going 55 minutes in a match is hard. And this man, he never took a deep breath. He lived up to all his potential. He said Sting is not only one of the greatest superstars in the history of the business, not only one of the biggest celebrities, but he's probably the nicest guy that Ric Flair has ever known. He goes, when is it? Until March? You know, time flies, brother. For however long you got left, I want to ride the wagon with you. So it looks like Ric Flair is going to be right by Sting's side. And you know what? This is probably something that Tony Khan had in mind. Because Sting started with Ric Flair, and Sting's going to end with Ric Flair. Makes sense. It only makes sense. I don't mind it. So Ric Flair was giving the crowd a couple woos, and then he chopped Sting. Sting's like, hey, give me a chop. So he gave him a chop. And then all of a sudden, Christian Cage comes out. Christian Cage comes out with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, and Christian Cage mocked Tony Khan for giving Sting the gift of Flair, which is pretty much a suit, a couple gold chains, and a black liver. And then he goes, don't worry, people. I know Ric Flair's not dead. And I also know that there's not a God, because if there was, Ric Flair would have been dead 20 years ago, said Christian Cage. I laughed. Ric Flair was actually laughing. Even he was laughing at what Christian Cage is doing. Even Ric Flair knows that Christian Cage is doing the best work of his career. Christian Cage was then pissed that Darby Allin and Sting kept getting involved in his business. Christian Cage said, I don't want to wait until March. I want you gone right now. So I'm throwing out a challenge. You can take Ric Flair with you, full gear, 6-man tag, and it won't be a celebration. It will be more like a funeral. Sting then fake sneezed, and he said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm allergic to jackasses. And they accepted the match. So it looks like my theory is going to come true. It's going to be Adam Copeland, Sting, and Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. It's perfect. It's simple. It makes sense. I got no issue with it whatsoever. I got no issue at all. Renee Paquette. She interviewed Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho actually did a very good job at putting over Powerhouse Hobbs, and he said that he was not prepared for what Hobbs did to him, which, by the way, Hobbs looked like an absolute beast. He looked like a beast. So I was very, very pleased with how Hobbs was presented. He goes, maybe it's time to reflect, said Chris Jericho. You do start second-guessing yourself, or maybe it's time to get revenge. Maybe it's time to get vengeance, because I have a lot of friends that are bigger than Hobbs, and maybe it's time to give them a call. I don't know about you, but I'm actually very, very fearful. I'm fearful that he's going to bring out Paul White. I'm very, very fearful that he's going to bring out Paul White, and we're going to see Paul White versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Listen, if we're going to get Hobbs destroying Paul White, I'm not really going to complain about that, but I mean, my God, are we really going to have to suffer through Paul White on TV? You know what? Honest to God, I am not even lying to you. I would much rather, I can't even believe I'm about to say this, I would much rather take Goldberg as Jericho's friend over Paul White. I am not even lying. I would much rather take Goldberg, because at least Goldberg, he can move a little bit better than Paul White. Goldberg can actually move. His problem is he gets winded. The problem with Goldberg is the fact that Goldberg cannot last more than 90 seconds in a match. Paul White, he just can't move. Paul White just can't move. Goldberg can move. Paul White can't move. My God, I really, really hope to God that this is not going to be a scenario where he brings back Paul White. I hope to God not. I really hope to God not. I would much rather take Goldberg, because if anything, Goldberg, Jericho, and Omega going up against the Don Callis family, I would actually prefer that. And Goldberg doesn't need to do anything crazy. He can get shots in. He doesn't have to be in the ring all the time. That would actually protect Goldberg. We do not need to see Paul White in an AEW wrestling ring anymore. We already saw what he did against QT Marshall at All Out, and it was a harmless match, and that was it. It was in and out. Goodbye. We don't need to see that. The Hardys and Brother Zay versus the Hung Bucks. This was for the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team championships. Let me tell you something. I know that we need to separate the Ring of Honor roster from the AEW roster. I know. I know. I've been preaching that. We need to have structure. AEW, let me tell you something. I love Tony Khan, but Tony Khan, when it comes to certain aspects of AEW television, he does not have the structure that he should have. The shows need to be a little bit more structured, especially Rampage. But one of those aspects about structure, he needs to get Ring of Honor off of AEW TV. However, I cannot discredit what these 6 men did, because what these 6 men did was actually very good. Ring of Honor needs to be on Ring of Honor. Do the rosters need to be separate? Absolutely. But this was a very good match. And and I can't really complain about that. I'm not really sure what they're doing with the Hardys, but the Hardys, they seem to be in this phase where all they're doing is putting over other talent. I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but Brother Zay, I don't know what it is, but it seems as though Brother Zay is almost being held back. I understand that he probably wants to be paired with the Hardys and, he's just having a fun time. He's young. He's got all the time in the world to grow. But Brother Zay, I think that he's got a really bright future ahead of himself, along with Mark Quinn. I really wish that Mark Quinn would come back. He's been out for a year. It's been a very, very, very bad knee injury. Jeff Hardy was actually moving better than Matt Hardy in this match. I can't even believe I'm saying that either. But overall, the match itself was very good. The match itself was very good, and I couldn't really complain. So, Matt Hardy and Matt Jackson, they mixed it up a bit. We had a side effect for a 2. Brother Zay then came in with a spinning tornillo over the top. Coming back from commercial, Matt Jackson was isolated. We had a double Northern Lights on Zay. And then Matt Hardy tagged in Paige. Paige then lit up everyone. We had a fallaway slam on Brother Zay. Pescado on Matt Hardy. Death Valley Driver on Zay. Jeff Hardy then caught a super kick by Nick Jackson. Matt gave one for Brother Zay. Super kick by Zay onto Nick. Brother Zay then launched off of Matt's back with a tope con hero onto Nick Jackson and Hangman Adam Page. We had a twist of fate and a swanton bomb combo, which looked very nice, and Nick Jackson saved the match. We had a buckshot lariat on Brother Zay, super kicks for the Hardys, BTE trigger, and the Elite retain in what was a very good match for the 10 minutes that it went. However, this was actually not the best part of the segment. The best part of the segment was Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland were on the Titantron, and there was no theme song, no Swerve When I Drive. There was no swerving while you're driving on this show. It was all business. All business. So Swerve and Prince Nana were actually outside of Hangman Adam Page's home. Outside of Hangman Adam Page's home, they infiltrated his home. Swerve took a drawing from Hangman's child off of the fridge, ripped it in half, and then this is how great Swerve is. Swerve went into the room of Hangman Adam Page's son, and he sat right by his crib. Now, you didn't actually see his son, but you could pretty much get what they were doing. So, Hangman Adam Page running up the ramp. He's looking to leave the arena. Swerve Strickland said that you know who pays for your actions, Hangman? Your loved ones do. So Hangman said, Hangman was all the way up the ramp, and he was looking to leave the building. Swerve then said, Page, you owe me a debt, but you're not here. So will Hangman Jr. owe me that debt? You know what you're going to do? You're going to take this shirt. And Swerve gave Hangman's son a Mogul Embassy t-shirt to let him know that you are going to be indebted to me forever, and it is all your father's fault. I mean, Swerve Strickland, the man is amazing. The man can do no wrong. Swerve Strickland right now is at a point in his career where he is absolutely untouchable as a character. As a character, Swerve Strickland has exceeded any and all expectations. He is so goddamn good, it is not even funny. And you know what? Now, I'm even more excited to see the match between Swerve and Hangman Adam Page at Full Gear, Part 2. I'm more excited to see that match than I was to see the first match. This is easily the second best thing on AEW Dynamite outside of whatever MJF is doing and the story that they got going on with MJF. Hikaru Shida, she took on Ruby Soho for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was actually a match that I was looking forward to, and it disappointed. I have no idea what happened, but the match itself just did not click. I'm not sure what it was, whether it was just an off night, whether it was injuries, whether it was poor match card placement, whether it was just the lack of chemistry. I don't know what happened, but these two just did not gel well together. I thought that we were going to get a very, very high-quality women's championship match. I thought that Hikaru Shida and Ruby Soho were going to go out there and tear the house down. It was the exact opposite. The crowd was half dead for this match. And then on top of that, it honest to God looked like they didn't know what they wanted to do. I was watching the match. I'm like, do they even know what their next move is? Too many shenanigans, too much tomfoolery. It just did not resonate well. And that was very disappointing. This was probably the first bad Hikaru Shida match that we've seen probably since her match with Big Swole back during the pandemic era of AEW Dynamite. And I don't even believe that I'm saying that. This was just not good. This was just not good whatsoever. Very, very, very amateur-like, if I'm going to be real. And based on what happened afterwards with Toni Storm coming out, saying that she's going to be challenging for the women's title at Full Gear, I mean, it's almost like they don't even know what they want to do with the women's championship. If anything, probably giving the title back to Toni Storm would be the best decision to make, because Toni Storm right now is one of the hottest acts in that women's division, and she is, without a doubt, the best character in the women's division. So you may as well just put the title right back on her. Not a good match. Not a good match at all. Just did not click. Very off and very lackluster. It was actually embarrassing for the both of them, and I feel bad for them. Very, very lackluster match. Probably the biggest negative on the show. And then in the main event, we had a great tag team match between Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada. They took on the Blackpool Combat Club's Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. And again, more people just trying to crap all over AEW for no reason. Well, why are we getting a random Kazuchika Okada match? Why are we getting the Kazuchika Okada Tony Khan dream match specialty? You know, these mentally inept inbreds trying to claim like there's no story behind this. If you actually paid attention, you would know that there is story behind it, because the best friends in Orange Cassidy, they're a part of Chaos, which is Kazuchika Okada's faction. They're a part of Chaos. Orange Cassidy and the best friends have been tied up with the Blackpool Combat Club since August. And if you remember, Kazuchika Okada and Bryan Danielson have a history, because Bryan Danielson tapped out Kazuchika Okada while Kazuchika Okada was the one that broke Bryan Danielson's arm. So if you're going to try and tell me that this has no story, I'm going to need you to go and take your ass elsewhere, because you and your stupidity are not welcome here. This was a great match. And in the end, this actually came as a shock, because Claudio ended up pinning the international champion. Claudio, with a pop-up uppercut, pins Orange Cassidy, and we got ourselves an international championship match next week between Orange Cassidy and Claudio Castagnoli. And then afterwards was kind of awkward. I'm not sure what happened here, but it looked like they were trying to struggle to do something. I'm not sure if Kazuchika Okada was mocking Bryan Danielson or whatever. But either way, I'm guessing that this was to create more tension between the Blackpool Combat Club and Chaos, or the best friends, or whatever you want to call it. But in the end of it all, I do believe that this is leading towards Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy, part number 2 at Full Gear. And that is when Orange Cassidy will finally get his major win over Jon Moxley. And that was Dynamite. That was Dynamite. Very good show. Very, very, very good show. Easily the best show of the week. SmackDown. I wish I could say the same thing. I don't want to say that SmackDown was a horrible show. I really don't, but I don't know what it is, but SmackDown right now, SmackDown just has absolutely no energy whatsoever. It, honest to God, does not have any energy at all. And if I'm going to be quite honest with you, WWE TV, over the course of this last week, it doesn't have any energy at all. The majority of WWE TV does not have any intrigue. It's like they're going back to relying on their pay-per-views and their pay-per-views only. I don't know what the problem was, but everything with WWE, it's just so formulaic. It's way too predictable, and it's nothing more than the same cast of characters in the same exact matches and the same exact programs on a week-to-week basis. People want to say, oh, you see, WWE is so good at telling stories. Want to say that, oh, WWE, they got the intrigue. They got the storytelling. See, WWE TV, they are number one in the industry right now. So let me ask you a question. You find the same people in the same program and the same exact matches, the same boring, formulaic, basic matches that I could reenact if I wanted to in a wrestling ring in my backyard. You find that entertaining. You consider that good storytelling. You consider lame, boring, unexciting, formulaic TV. You consider that to be top of the industry. I really don't know what the mentality is of some of these people, but this is why I don't respect anybody. Because everyone's an idiot. No one's on my level. No one has a brain and no one knows how to use it. Outside of the people in this chat right now. Outside of the Final Horse, outside of Hooligrim, outside of Maria, outside of Sarah Hapka, outside of Earl Cole, outside of the people like that, no one knows how to use their brain. No one knows how to do their job as pro wrestling fans. Nobody knows how to think objectively. No one does. Especially after what happened with this Roman Reigns LA Knight promo. Now, LA Knight, here's what I'm going to say about this promo. LA Knight, he interrupted Roman Reigns during his entrance, right? He interrupted Roman Reigns midway through his entrance. He then took the chair and he sat at the head of the table and he mocked Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was very, very nonchalant. Roman Reigns looked like he did not care whatsoever. And LA Knight pretty much took him to school. LA Knight came off in this one segment. LA Knight looked better than Cody Rhodes did throughout the entire build towards Rhodes' match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I kid you not. LA Knight in one segment looked better than Cody Rhodes did throughout his entire build towards his match with Roman at WrestleMania. Fact. I think that this was probably the first time ever that anyone has ever upstaged Roman Reigns during this Tribal Chief run. But even though LA Knight came off like a superstar, even though LA Knight came off like a world champion, there's just no genuine intrigue behind it. They're rushing this program. The program is honestly being rushed. The program does not have enough build. There's not enough tension. There's not enough heat. All this is a match that is being thrown together for Crown Jewel because WWE needs a big-time money matchup, and they legitimately have no one else, although they do have someone. They have AJ Styles, but it seems like they're saving AJ Styles for the Royal Rumble. All this is a program that was thrown together because they need a world title match for Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, and none of this comes off as exciting because we all know what's going to happen. We all know that LA Knight, the man that should honestly be winning, if we're going to be quite honest here, the man should not be losing. He should be beating Roman Reigns, but he's not going to beat Roman Reigns because WWE does not care. They do not care, and when it comes down to it all, whenever they have a new star, they always need to knock him down several pegs and go back to booking their tried and true, go back to booking their go-to guys, their go-to gals, and they go back to the same people that they've relied on for how many years because they can just never let go of the past. Roman Reigns is the past. Roman Reigns could lose the title tomorrow, and he will go into the Hall of Fame legitimately the next day. No one cares about Roman Reigns anymore. Roman Reigns is not the draw that people say he is anymore. The majority of the wrestling fans as of right now are done with Roman Reigns. And that's not because Roman's not great, but it's because the championship has pretty much become an afterthought. The championship has become an afterthought. There is legitimately no other credible challengers for Roman Reigns, and no one genuinely believes that LA Knight even has a sliver of a chance of beating Roman Reigns, even though he should. Even though he should. People just don't care. This program with Roman Reigns and LA Knight, no matter how great LA Knight comes off, there's just no intensity, there's no tension, and there's no energy behind it because it's the same formulaic feud with Roman Reigns every single time. No one genuinely believes that LA Knight is going to walk out of Crown Jewel as the champion. You know why? Because WWE has ingrained it in our minds that Roman Reigns is unstoppable, Roman Reigns is the guy, and Roman Reigns is not losing until we say he loses. And on top of that, when does WWE willingly give a new star like LA Knight the spotlight? When do they willingly give LA Knight the push that we all know he should have? Roman Reigns right now is doing more harm than good. Roman Reigns is not the draw that people think that he is. He is not doing anything for the championship. The championship has become an afterthought. LA Knight should really win, but he won't. So why does this program not have any energy? That's why. So LA Knight ended up getting a match with Jimmy Uso later on in the show because Jimmy Uso came out. Roman Reigns actually attacked LA Knight. And they had LA Knight put Jimmy Uso through a table leading up to the match later on in the show. Carlito Caribbean Cool, and Santos Escobar, they took on the Street Profits. Street Profits got new theme music. They got a new look. They look great. Match wasn't bad. It was a decent match. But again, a typical WWE thing. They had Logan Paul attack Rey Mysterio in the back. They played it on the Titantron. And Santos Escobar, like a moron, tells Carlito to go and help Rey Mysterio. And he goes at it alone. And he loses. How many times do we need to see the same match every week? Some iteration, some form of the LWO versus the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. Rey Mysterio versus Bobby Lashley. Carlito and Santos versus the Profits. Montez Ford versus Carlito. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's lame. Shotzi and Chelsea Green. Again, how many times do we need to see a 2.5-minute women's match? Women's division is dead. No substance whatsoever. And Shotzi, I don't know how it's possible, but she is getting worse as the weeks go on. And Chelsea Green, she is a complete waste of space. She came back to be a Karen. She came back to WWE to act like a Karen and hold a worthless set of titles, which has not been defended in about 3 months. Yeah, great move right there. Women's wrestling is terrible. Probably the best thing on the show right here, John Cena. John Cena came out to address the crowd. He hyped up the crowd as per usual, and he talked about his match with Solo. He said that the vibe was serious because he feels like he is in jeopardy of losing the crowd's respect. The crowd chanted, "You still got it." Cena then said, "What if I don't? If I don't deliver, I lose this, and I don't want to lose this. I want to feel the energy. I want to feel the energy, and I want to feel your support." That's what Cena said. Cena then said, "Crown Jewel is not just a must-see. Crown Jewel is a must-win." Paul Heyman then came out, and he thanked John Cena for 21 years of sold-out arenas. He then picked Cena from OVW, as he stated in the past. Heyman then praised Cena's mic skills, and he said, "You could have been me, but Solo is going to hit you with that spike, and you won't be able to talk anymore. Your ability to talk will be taken away, and the bloodline will take you away from your WWE universe." This is a match where you must win, but it's a match in which you can't win. Solo then came out and gave Cena the Samoan spike, and we go forth into Crown Jewel for John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. And that's going to be quite the interesting match. That's going to be quite the interesting match. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do. Cedric Alexander and Dragon Lee. This was the best thing from an in-ring perspective on SmackDown. These two put on a very fun match. And again, another reason to believe Triple H is in charge is because Cedric Alexander is now on the show. And Cedric Alexander put on a very good match with Dragon Lee. And Dragon Lee ended up getting the win right here with the standing Shiranui. And afterwards, they embraced and they shook hands. If you guys have 8 minutes, go out of your way to watch this match because it was great. Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair came out to address the crowd. She said that she is excited to be back on SmackDown, and all that played in her mind was the image of Damage Control crushing her leg in a chair. For the first time, I was out, and I sat home with nothing but my thoughts, and all I could think about was revenge. I just could not let it go. I was consumed with vengeance, so I figured out a perfect way to get vengeance. At Crown Jewel, I'm going to be getting my rematch for the WWE Women's Championship. And next week, I'll be facing Bayley. My quest for vengeance starts with Bayley, ends with Io, and me reclaiming my WWE Women's Championship. I don't want to bash this promo. It was a fine promo. I have no problem with Bianca Belair. She came off very serious, and I was happy about that. But it's literally the same people every single week. Charlotte, Bianca, Io, Bianca, Charlotte, Bianca, Io, Charlotte, Io, Bianca, Bayley, Io, Bayley, Io, Charlotte, Bayley, Bianca, Bayley. It's the same thing every single week. There's no difference. There is no depth. There is no creativity. And people want to say, story that WWE's telling absolutely sucks donkey balls. LA Knight took on Jimmy Uso. Again, same match. How many times have we seen this? We saw it on SmackDown. We saw it at Fastlane. We're seeing it again today. Same thing every week. And then people want to complain about AEW. Why is this match on the show? Why is this person on the show? I don't know. How about we don't get the same matches every week on AEW TV? We actually get something different on AEW TV. And if that's the case, that is something that I'm going to get behind. And yeah, Damage Control minus Io is still taking L's because Io's the champion. LA Knight beat Jimmy Uso. Out came Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns went for the spear. LA Knight dodged it. And then Roman Reigns came in and hit. And he was hit with a BFT, blunt force trauma. And LA Knight stood tall against the tribal chief. That was SmackDown for you. I don't want to say it was horrible, but it was just bland. It was just very, very formulaic. There was just nothing engaging. Just nothing engaging whatsoever. And here's the crazy part about it. I'm not the only one that's saying it. I'm not trying to push a narrative. I'm just speaking the facts here. Sorry if you don't like it. I actually found more enjoyment in Rampage than SmackDown. Literally, Rampage was more enjoyable than SmackDown. And Rampage, we had Abaddon on Rampage. We had the freaking living dead girl on Rampage, Abaddon. Rampage. The two best things on the show happened at the beginning and the end. Rampage had two very good matches. We had Mike Santana and Ortiz, Falls Count Anywhere match. And I was actually very, very happy that they gave Mike Santana and Ortiz the opportunity on Rampage to do what they do. And Mike Santana and Ortiz actually delivered a very good match. I would have actually had them go another 6-7 more minutes. They were actually putting on a really good showing. I'm not sure why they only gave him 12 minutes, but for the 12 minutes that it went, it was a very good match. And the story that they told, very, very good. Very, very good. So Ortiz, he came out of the gate hot with a super suicide dive into a cannonball senton, which looked crazy, looked legitimately crazy. Then all of a sudden, we had Ortiz with a trash can, and he just beat Santana with the trash can. He then brought out a bed of chairs, and he whacked Santana with the chairs and the kendo sticks. He then even brought out a table. So Santana, with a beautiful acai moonsault to the floor. We then had Ortiz. He powerbombed Santana onto the table, and Santana looked like he landed hard, and it bent. The table bent, but it didn't bend as much as you would like to. So Santana actually caught a lot of table on the back of his head. Back into the ring, we had both men brawling on the apron, and Mike Santana with a suplex off of the apron onto Ortiz, onto the bed of chairs. Coming back from commercial, the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." We then had both men trading blows, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Then we had a snap German by Ortiz. Santana got right back up. And then we had a snap German by Santana on Ortiz. Double clothesline, both men are down. Santana, and this is probably one of my favorite moves from Santana. Santana with a backwards roll into a cutter, which looked very, very nice. And Ortiz kicked out. Ortiz then with a power slam, that got a 2. And then he delivered a very nice brain buster. Santana kicked out. Very nice sequence right there. Both men slapped each other. Santana then with a discus lariat, cannonball in the corner, and then a torture rack into a power bomb. And Mike Santana wins the match clean. 1, 2, 3. And I would not have this end here. If you're asking me, I would continue it going into Full Gear. Even if it's on the pre-show, I would continue it going into Full Gear, and I would give them one more match in the Kia Forum. That's what I would do. But this was a very good match, and Santana gets the win. Hulgrim says, "Can we eliminate commercials during matches, please?" I mean, that's how they make money. And on top of that, there was only a 90-second commercial break between Santana and Ortiz. Other than that, out of a 12-minute match, only a minute and a half was in commercial. The rest of it was seen. So I didn't really have a problem with that. It was a very good match. Could have gone another 7 minutes, but it was a very good match. And again, I would not have this end here. I would continue this going into Full Gear. Now afterwards, this is interesting. Afterwards, Sanjay Dutt came out and he was trying to talk to Ortiz. And trying to calm him down a bit, and Ortiz didn't look like he wanted a part of it. Now, I'm not really sure what this means, but the only thing that I could think of is the fact that Sanjay Dutt is trying to recruit Ortiz to help stand side by side with Jay Lethal when Jay Lethal challenges Eddie Kingston for the Ring of Honor World Championship, because Eddie Kingston knows Ortiz very well, and they have a history. So, honest to God, that would make sense. MJF and Kenny Omega, they had a very nice promo package. This was to hype up their match against each other tonight on Collision. So MJF had a promo package where he ran down his accomplishments this year. He talked about Omega's superstar status and how he needs to beat Omega to be considered the best. Omega's peers, like Excalibur and Nigel McGuinness, they had a chance to speak. They called Max special, and then in came Omega. Omega, he talked for a little bit, and he talked about how it is his responsibility to protect his streak. Now, this is where things actually started getting interesting. Jay White interrupted Kenny Omega. Setting up a potential feud with them down the line. And then Don Callis interrupted MJF. And Don Callis was trying to recruit MJF to the Don Callis family. Obviously, MJF declined, but This was a very good promo package. And this is exactly what Rampage should be used for. This is exactly what Rampage should be used for. Rampage should be used to build up programs. It should be an extension of Dynamite, and it should be used to help enhance feuds and matches. And that's exactly what this promo package did. And I'm glad that they put this promo package on Rampage. We need more of that. The next segment, I really don't understand why the next segment was even on the show. I didn't mind. I didn't mind what happened in the end, but the next segment, I really don't understand why it needed to be this. Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, they had a little promo. Kip Sabian was pretty much just bashing all of Philadelphia's sports teams, which, by the way, they deserve it because Philly sports teams are trash. So Kip Sabian was actually sounding like a bum, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't really understand why. If anything, I would just have Kip Sabian come out for a match on Collision, and then we could have gotten what we have gotten. But based on what happened, I think Hologram is going to be very, very happy about this. So Kip Sabian was cutting the promo. He was kind of sounding like an awkward bum. And then all of a sudden you hear, "Reach for the sky, boy." And out comes Mark Briscoe, who had a knee injury. I'm not sure how bad the knee injury was. I actually thought he was going to be out until next year. But Mark Briscoe made his return to AEW TV, and he took out Kip Sabian. If anything, I would have just had Kip Sabian come out on Collision, and then I would have just had Mark Briscoe come out for a match on Collision, because quite frankly, this segment actually took some time away from Santana and Ortiz. You could have given more time to those two. But Mark Briscoe is back, and he took out Kip Sabian, and based on what's coming up, it looks like Samoa Joe's Ring of Honor World TV title reign is going to be coming to an end in just 7 short weeks. Because in 7 weeks, we got ourselves Ring of Honor Final Battle. And I think that's going to be the day where Mark Briscoe finally wins the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, which I would have no problem with. That's the whole reason why Samoa Joe is still the champion right now. The whole reason why Samoa Joe is still the champion is because we are looking to get that title on Mark Briscoe. And that's what he was building towards. He was building towards getting a rematch with Samoa Joe. They were telling the story of Mark Briscoe losing to Joe and then coming back, gaining some wins, and then fighting Joe at a future date and beating Samoa Joe. So now that he's back, I'm very happy that he's back because Mark Briscoe, he's going to finish his story. Something that Cody Rhodes couldn't do this year at WrestleMania. And to be quite honest with you, if Punk comes back to the WWE, Cody ain't ever going to finish his story. But Mark Briscoe's back. Looks like we have ourselves a new Ring of Honor World Television Champion at Final Battle in Garland, Texas. Should be a fun moment. Willow Nightingale. She took on Anna Jay, Sky Blue, and Abaddon. This was a #1 contenders match to see who was going to fight Sheeta tonight. Timeless Tony Storm actually came out to watch the match. Willow with a double drop kick on Abaddon and Sky Blue. Willow then caught Jay with a kick. And then all of a sudden we had Anna Jay catching a pounce by Willow. Willow then came in with a spine buster for a 2. Willow went after Abaddon, as did Sky Blue and Anna Jay. We had a super kick to Anna. Willow then took out Sky Blue, and then Abaddon planted Anna Jay, and Abaddon gets the win. She will fight Sheeta tonight on Collision. I appreciate that they're doing #1 contenders matches rather than just announcing matches, so that I will give them, but I mean, come on. Let me ask you guys a question. What exactly does Abaddon bring to the table? What does she bring to the table? Now, I will say this. She didn't look bad in the ring. Last time I saw her, she sucked in the ring. She didn't look completely horrible in the ring. That much I will say. But I mean, oh my God. The only reason why Abaddon is even on TV is because it's the Halloween season. She's going to go right back to catering after Sheeta beats her. I really don't understand why she's even still employed. She's been with the company how long? 3 years? She's been with the company 3 years, and she has legitimately accumulated nothing. She has offered nothing of substance. There's a reason why she's been off of TV for nearly 2 years. It's because she is a terrible professional wrestler. She sucks at her job. Why do you think she is off of TV? Because she is horrible. She's not as bad in the ring as she was, but I mean, what does she have that other women don't have? She's pretty much Jade Cargill with face paint. She's a semi-decent wrestler among a roster of great women's wrestlers. And on top of that, her demonic, satanic, voodoo, creepy gimmick, I'm sorry, it don't work in modern day wrestling. It don't. I respect Tony Khan and what he's done, but oh my God, keep her off of TV. I expect the absolute worst from tonight with Abaddon and Hikaru Shida. I am not even lying. I expect the absolute worst. I am not an advocate for people losing their jobs, but holy Christ, Abaddon has got to go. She has got to go. Why couldn't you have given it to Willow? Why couldn't you have given it to Willow? Willow would have actually brought a decent match out of Shida. A match between Willow and Shida, honest to God, would have washed away the bad taste of Ruby Soho and Hikaru Shida from this past Wednesday. What a stupid decision. Very, very bad move on Tony Khan's part. When he screws up, he screws up. And for anyone that wants to call me an AEW shill, I'm fair in what I say. AEW may have the better product right now, but when Tony Khan screws up, he screws up. This was a screw up. Get rid of Abaddon. Her ceiling is the indies. She is not meant for mainstream television. Main event. Now, the main event, that is definitely something that I would invest my time in. And if you guys missed this main event, go out of your way to watch it. 13 minutes. 13 minutes. Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita. Great. Great match. Two young, up-and-coming talents that are just unbelievably good at a young age. So, we had a really nice back and forth. Blue Thunder Bomb by Takeshita for a 2. Coming back from commercial, Takeshita with a V-trigger. Fletcher with an enziguri. Big tope suicida and a cross body for a 2 by Fletcher. Fletcher then with a half and half. Takeshita caught Fletcher with a poison rana. No way to make that move look safe. Takeshita then with an unbelievable lariat and a brainbuster. Awesome stuff. Takeshita then with an avalanche cradle tombstone pile driver. I actually thought that was it. Avalanche cradle tombstone. Kyle Fletcher kicked out. Takeshita, I don't know how he did this, but it was a seamless transition. A beautiful, beautiful transition into a fantastic wheelbarrow German suplex. And after the wheelbarrow German suplex, Kyle Fletcher popped right up, hit Takeshita with a super kick, Takeshita with a knee, and then an exposed V-trigger right to the face. Konosuke Takeshita gets the win, and Konosuke Takeshita continues his winning ways. He has looked fantastic since joining up with Don Callis. Afterwards, Kyle Fletcher took a chair, and he hit Konosuke Takeshita and Will Hobbs, and Don Callis actually stopped Powerhouse Hobbs from going after Kyle Fletcher. He stopped him, and he looked at Kyle Fletcher. He said, whoa, relax. That's what we wanted. Look at the hate. Look at the anger. That is what we were looking for. So you know what? You earned it. Be my apprentice. And it looks like it was confirmed. Kyle Fletcher left with Konosuke Takeshita. And based on that ending, I'm telling you, they got heavy investment in Kyle Fletcher. It is going to be a major, and I mean a major fall season for Kyle Fletcher. And let me tell you something. If Kyle Fletcher is getting this much investment from Don Callis and AEW management, Mark Davis better step up his game when he comes back from injury. Because if Aussie Open is going to be the tag team of the Don Callis family, man, we got a faction full of winners. Maybe we get a blood and guts match. Maybe we get the Don Callis family in a blood and guts match. I wouldn't mind that. But the top two things on Rampage, the beginning and the end, go out and watch the two matches that I just stated. We didn't need the Mark Briscoe segment. I would have debuted or returned Mark Briscoe tonight on Collision, but that's just me. Either way, still a very, very enjoyable 1 hour, much more enjoyable than SmackDown Live. That was it. What happened with Mark Davis that caused him to be out? He broke his wrist. He broke his wrist at Wrestle Dream during the match with FTR. That's what. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all that I got. Thank you very much for stopping by. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you very much to Hoolagrim and Maria and Sarah and the Final Hoss and James Punaseka and Didi. You guys are all fantastic. And as per usual, I am absolutely unbelievably grateful for you guys. I'm very, very, very happy for all of you that you guys chose me to come on and spend your Saturday afternoons with. Good crowd for sure. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend and happy Halloween to all of you as well. Be ready, people, because next Thursday, good friend of mine, Billy Ann Wolf, is coming on the channel, and we are going to be dissecting WWE Crown Jewel. AEW has their Full Gear pay-per-view. Full Gear pay-per-view and the Full Gear rundown, that's going to be run by me and Mr. Earl Cole. So do not, and I mean do not forget to tune into that. And then on top of that, we also got Hoolagrim coming to us on November 21st. That's a Tuesday for the rundown for Survivor Series. So we got a lot of rundowns. We got a lot of rewinds. We got plenty, and I mean plenty of good material coming to you guys. So please, please be ready. It is going to be good. Until then, like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, people, who runs the IWC? Let me take a sip of my water. Who runs the IWC? You already know the drill here, people. Who but DJ Storms? And don't you forget it.
'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.